I am like 85% certain that vision insurance is a scam. Can you verify if that's true? They don't cover your glasses. They just cover part of your glasses, but only certain types. They don't cover your eye checks because that's actually covered by your health insurance because it's part of your body.
Interesting.
So it's just like glasses. You're like prepaying for glasses,
not only
but
that,
it's sold as insurance.
but you can go to like Costco and have a free eye exam. So it probably insurance probably does cover the eye exam, but you get a free eye exam anyways when you go in.
Oh.
It feels like the insurance you need for your like windshield.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna want this. You will never use it,
But if it cracks,
you
got this.
So it's
maybe
it's just glass.
Maybe you've got this.
Interesting. Does it cover rigs? Does your vision insurance? No.
Oh, I wish. I think.
So, fun fact about glass coverage. In some commercial auto coverage, they don't have glass coverage. So if you've got a inexperienced, say somebody who does, mostly home and auto, and they decide to write your commercial policy, and they write your vehicle under a commercial policy, you may not have glass coverage. So your windshield breaks, go to the commercial policy, and they're like, oh yeah.
Wow. So if I'm looking to get coverage for like my glassware, like the smoking apparatuses, is that auto or would that be under like rental homeowners? Or?
Yeah. Well, it depends on if you're using it in driving.
Okay. All right. So then, unfortunately, I got to reach out to my auto guy.
Yeah. If you're using it, you're driving, and you get into an accident, your glass piece breaks. It's under your auto.
That's a good callback.
Yeah, the officer comes over. He's like, "We're using that while driving." He'd be like, "Don't worry, I'm calling my insurance guy right now. We're good."
Yeah, and it broke, and but I've got coverage.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, we're good.
Overt Sloth was saying that his downspout, like his slide, broke when he was cleaning it today. So he had to hit up Eros to figure out what the size of the glass piece was, so he can replace it.
Nice.
But you cover glass in some ways, right?
Yeah.
We've got Cory Lake, Lakes Group Insurance, CEO, on the show today, the cannabis insurance guy, if I do say so myself.
Thank you.
Happy to be working with Cory over the last few months, but also happy to have you back in the studio. Really curious to get kind of an update today on what you're seeing in the Minnesota cannabis market. But first, introduce yourself to those who don't know you and what all do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Cory Lake. I am the CEO of Lake Group Insurance. Been in the cannabis insurance space, started in about 2019, turned over my LinkedIn profile to be 100% cannabis about 3 years ago.
What led you to do that, conviction-wise?
Conviction-wise. Insurance over the course of years doesn't change a lot. I mean, it's, you're doing small business, medium-sized business, large business. It's very interesting, but it's pretty straightforward. One of the most exciting insurances in the last probably 10 years was cyber insurance. Very interesting, new, had to learn a lot about it. Figure things out. You watch policies get built and developed. You watch claims come in. It was pretty interesting. Cannabis is like that. So cannabis is what I would consider the new cyber. I started going down to the House and the Senate and listening to how the bill was being passed. What I wanted to do is learn everything I could so I could help support customers and know as much as I possibly could about regulations, and then learn a little bit about government. I mean, I had never been a part of that sort of thing before, and I thought it was a little bit easier to access because I understood what the topic was. A lot of the times when you see bills being introduced, they're the omnibus bill. They're stuffed in with a whole bunch of other stuff, so you've got to unpack what's going on. If you were looking at education, for example, that might be stuffed in with police reform and a handful of other things, and to try to unpack what all that means is really difficult. This was pretty straightforward.
It's nice that you took one single lane to understand government.
Yeah.
Given how complex government is, but cannabis is a gateway drug to government, right?
Yeah, and with the amount of committees, I mean, you basically got a crash course on all of it.
100%. I mean, and it was honestly, it was amazing. I learned so much about how things function and how people function and how things get done. Good, bad, ugly, but...
And year over year, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You pick up more this legislative session than maybe last or the year before or the year before that.
Yeah, and you start to understand the players and who's doing what, why they're doing it, what their stance is, how maybe they pivot over time, too. Which I find the most interesting is how the pieces move. I mean, it's very, government is chess, and you are trying to move the players the way that you need them to move to try to create the outcome that you're trying to get. And it's a very high level game of chess.
And as someone new or looking at a new industry, it's important to be there and actually see it, hear it from the horse's mouth, and not rely on another set of facts coming to you, or not being down at the Capitol, for example. Also, as an independent or a small business owner, like you need to know that knowledge yourself. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's important, and it's very helpful. At the end of the day, you can read a lot. You can get a lot of information from different periodicals that are coming out, but you don't get the minutia of what's going on. And to read a bill that takes a very special person.
It's so exciting. What are you talking about?
When did you two start crossing paths?
It was in the house.
Yeah. So it was right around the time that Bridget at Ground and Gardens was really hosting those like deep dives into the events. Emma and Is Ready would pop up there. We would pop up every so often. Right around the time that I met like Jen Riza and that crew, Aaron.
But also like that early days of like Kayla Fearing and
totally, yeah,
Kit Kenny showing up.
A lot of people coming together to say like, what is this going to mean for us, and how do we have an impact in changing how this looks like?
Right, kind of a classroom environment, getting it kind of secondary from the folks that were actually down there. But given how close they were on West 7th Street, it was a great space to get to know people, but and also feel informed. Yeah.
And so people can go back and listen to actually episode 3 of the podcast, like way a long time ago. You tell a little bit of the story of how we first met, but in essence, you came up to me and you were like, hey, we should start talking about what the insurance industry will look like here and how that's going to impact all of these small business owners that are looking to get started. And I didn't know a ton about insurance. And so I was interested to learn more. And yeah, I mean, as our industry has grown and evolved, I think that's become a topic that every single business has had to learn about, either positively or very quickly negatively.
Yeah. And like, what types of coverage do you find most cannabis entrepreneurs are surprised they need?
Well, one, that they need insurance. I mean, it's amazing to me that it is one of the, I think, one of the least talked about subjects. I have been in a lot of meetings, a lot of podcasts with everything from banks to CPAs to people that are just trying to help out in the industry, and insurance never gets mentioned.
Do you think insurance has a stigma?
Yeah, absolutely, and it should. Especially in the news. I mean, because we are inundated, and everybody is going through the homeowners crisis right now. I mean, we just are. If you own, rent, whatever, your rates have gone up. So immediately we've got a stigma there. The stories that you hear or the news that is betrayed are lots of things that just aren't covered, or claims that aren't paid out, or we talk about the California wildfires, for example. Here's $2 billion worth of damage. They're paying, I'm making this up, by the way, but they're paying out half of that. And that's the reports that you hear.
Yeah, or people that have like damage insurance, but not like total loss insurance, things like that.
Absolutely. So those are the stories. What we don't hear are the stories of, I got into a car accident, they came out, they took care of me, I got a new car, everything went well.
Yeah.
You don't get the positive stories, and we have lots of those as well. So yeah, I think the stigma is driven by news and those sort of things, and for good reason.
Sure, but at the same time, insurance in essence is with you every day that you have it. And it's almost like a reflection of where we are in society right now on how chaotic or challenging or risky or, these natural disasters are happening more and more. So it's like, it's natural for insurance to be going up given that we're in unprecedented times.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. What's an interesting sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, exercise to do is to think about what you pay for car insurance over the course of a year. And let's say you get into a car accident and it's covered. So if you pay, call it, I don't know, $3,000 a year,
Yeah.
and you're in a car that's 2000 or newer, and you get into a fender bender, well, it's going to be $3,000 to repair. It might even be more.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times it's more. If you're in a newer car, that's your headlight. So,
Don't drive high.
yeah. Don't or drunk or just sober. Just drive sober.
Drive sober.
Get an Uber.
Call the Uber.
Call the Uber. Absolutely.
Because then it's someone else's insurance.
Then it's somebody else's insurance,
Which is
Much
great.
better. Yeah. Well, and with the rates, just funny little segue there. There are people today that because insurance is so expensive and autos are so expensive, they have calculated that they can just take Ubers.
Ubers, yeah. I mean, it's a lifestyle shift.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance is nice if it's in your back pocket. You pull your wallet out, here's my insurance.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have, but it is expensive,
Yep, absolutely. Well, everything.
especially in cannabis.
Especially in cannabis. Yeah, the cannabis tax is real on everything.
Mm.
Insurance isn't immune to that. The one thing that I will say about why and the insurance is expensive.
And also maybe how it's changed over CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9, and kind of where we are now. I'd love to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, take adult rec, for example. We've had that for about 15 years. The initial policies that came out were wildly expensive. Insurance is all based on actuarial evidence. So we need lawsuits. We need accidents. We need fires. We need things to happen to be able to create a picture of what this looks like. We need to know where the risks are and where the risks aren't.
A nonfiction
Correct.
story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that helps shape the actuarial picture and profile of how we can then create the insurance. And what was really interesting is right away, they're just, well, one, we had no actuarial evidence on what was going to happen. So you have to charge a lot because you don't know. Mm. So once we've gotten over that, over the course of 15 years, the things that we thought were going to be issues really weren't. And some of the things that have really come to be the issues, we now understand what those are. And really, it's two big ones. One of them is fires inside grows.
Okay.
And those are really due to things like HPS bulbs. And so if I just was looking at a grow recently.
Hey, these are
we're
all
LED
LEDs in here. I am running all LED.
Yeah. You could smell the sodium coming
You
off.
guys aren't photosynthesizing right now.
All right. Good.
We're not going to cook.
Could be.
We're not going to get a tan. Yeah, so I was just doing a grow, and indoors they have LED, outdoor they have HPS. The insurance company was like, we'll do the indoor. We're not interested in doing the outdoor grow.
Oh, sure.
When it changes to LED, we'll absolutely do it. I was like, that's amazing.
That's based on a past history.
Correct.
I guess it's interesting, right? Because there's a lot of things that aren't problems about the cannabis industry.
I mean, one of the things would have been like vaping, smoking. I mean, all of those issues. So the initial sort of thought from at least the research that I've done was that it was going to be product based. We were going to have people that got too high and went to the hospital. You were going to have accidents because people were over consuming. We were going to have vaping issues. We were going to have, I don't remember what the popcorn lung type.
Oh yeah,
sort of
from the
things.
vitamin E acetate and the vape
Correct.
pens. Yeah.
You know, those were going to be the real things that we were concerned about. And of course, anytime human life is involved, that's when we get really, really, really concerned about what happens. Honestly, none of that happened. Did we have people get too high? Absolutely. It happened. But that, you know, usually meant you went to the hospital, they gave you a Snickers bar and told you to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Here's
No.
some Scooby-Doo.
Here's some, yeah, good luck, kid. Enjoy the ride. But that's been, you know, that's been about it. Has there been some accidents? Yes, there has been some, but not insurable accidents. These were things that just happened. So that's been interesting. Where we have seen it again is grow fires.
Okay.
And then theft and burglary.
Yeah.
So that's been a really big one.
They get picked on
yeah, well,
or picked within.
picked within, and then the theft and burglary are a lot of smash and grabs where people will literally back a truck up through the window and go in and take all of this, take as much stuff as they possibly can, and then internal theft as well.
Right.
So you get a disgruntled employee, and you know, next thing you know, they're out the door with 50 pounds.
Yeah,
Go
I can
ahead.
totally picture it. Where like, you know, I've used to work at a grocery store a long time ago, and there are some ingredients that are real tiny and get really expensive, and man, those go missing quite often. Imagine the dab jars. It's $140 in like a 1 inch by 1 inch square. That not that hard to make disappear. I
And
imagine.
you might have a back room full of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's consumable by nature. So units are turning over frequently.
Yeah.
Fast paced.
Yep, which leads us into like inventory control and those sort of things. I mean, all of that becomes very, very, very important. The compliance piece is important. It's why there's so many, they want so many cameras. It's why they want you to check in and check out. Something that I think we lose sight of is that it's still federally illegal. This is a Schedule 1 drug.
Right.
And if we map onto that a different Schedule 1 drug, give me a different Schedule 1 drug. Is heroin Schedule 1 or is that
Sure.
2?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to snip it later. Yeah.
Methamphetamine.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Methamphetamine, schedule 1.
So let's imagine,
Are we sure?
oh,
I am saying that from my historical
See, and this is the part that's concerning to me, where there are methamphetamine salts.
restart. Hey, yeah, I'm a producer. Let me do producer shit.
A Schedule 1 drug outside of weed is also both heroin and LSD.
oh, good. All right. So
And methamphetamine. Yeah. Yeah. So choose your favorite.
choose your favorite. So let's go. We'll do heroin because
Nah.
we
My
know
brewery doesn't sell heroin.
Not yet.
it's wild.
I've got a bill we're going to talk about later in the show.
Super profitable.
Is it a craft heroin though?
Yeah. As long as they have less than 1,000 square feet of heroin production a year.
Like, what's the volume
Cottage.
here?
cottage? Cottage heroin.
I'm sick.
Back on track.
Heroin.
All right. So I'm back on heroin.
Yes.
Aren't we all?
It's been a while.
It's been a minute. So if we replace cannabis with heroin, think of what you would put in place if stores decided to start selling heroin to the general public.
Yeah.
And that changes the mindset, at least for me, quite a bit. Would you want a kid to get a hold of your heroin ball? Probably not.
Right.
How would you sell it? What would you do to stop people from getting in the front door to buy the heroin?
You're taking it at face value. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So all that being said, those are the things that we need to really consider how the government and the regulators are looking at what we're doing.
Yes. But have you heard about hemp?
Yes.
I was at Cannabis a day ago, and we were setting up our booth, putting gummy samples on the front table, and a guy from OCM came over and said, "Oh, those have to go in the back." And I said, "Oh, they're uninfused, don't worry." He went, "Great, have a good day," and walked away, and that was sort of it. And I imagine like huzzah, we did it, we solved the problem. I imagine like you're at like a liquor or alcohol event, and like they come up and you're like, "Oh, are you serving alcohol?" And you're like, No. It's NA. It's cool.
It's been non-alkaline. It's been it's been
And
taken
they're just
out.
like, sweet.
It's
awesome.
water that looks exactly like the vodka.
Yeah, it looks real similar, but trust us, no, it's not. And I think with the cannabis mindset, that feels so like normal to me. It's sold everywhere. But swapping, we've got the LSD gummies on the table. Maybe not as cool that we're just saying like, trust us. It's not. They're not in there. It's fine.
It's not dosed-ish, I don't think.
Yeah, no. Probably no.
Fully dosed.
Yeah.
Micro, maybe. There's probably some spill, but you should be fine.
But yeah, a good framing on our industry.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, let's talk about the potential for federal legalization and how that would maybe move us away from the ridiculous mindset that marijuana is like heroin or LSD.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back.
Ready to kick off your home grow? We've got the perfect hookup for you. MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. They've got everything from fast flowering strains to unique hybrids, all ready for growing in Minnesota. And guess what? Our listeners get an exclusive deal. Use the code NL10 for a 10% discount on your entire order. Don't miss out and get started with the best seeds. Start your growth strong with MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. Remember, NL10 for 10% off at MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. Grab your seeds today. And we're back here in the studio with Casey of Natural Harvest. How's it going, man?
Hey, Tanner. Thanks for having me back again.
Super happy to have you back in the studio. It is another month. It is April. We're getting so close to that outdoor season being real. And now it's another month, which means we got another seed box. Tell us, what do you have in store for us this month?
Yeah, so this month, an exciting one, Northern Lights Auto.
What? You named a seed after us? No. I'm just kidding. No, a classic cultivar, Northern Lights Auto. That's awesome. That's a really, really cool one. I mean, not that you have to like tell people what is Northern Lights like, but for people who maybe haven't tried the beverage, haven't ever smoked the weed before, haven't been exposed to that, what is Northern Lights?
Absolutely, yeah. Classic indica strain. Kind of one of those everybody knows about. The auto variety is mixed with lowrider, so kind of get some of those genetics too. So
I love it. Yeah, I think you get like a little bit of a berry woodsiness to it. Northern Lights is one of those cultivars that I keep coming back to. I haven't found a bad iteration of it yet, so I'm stoked. And an auto plant. For people who maybe have never grown an auto flower before, tell us a little bit, what is it that makes it that auto flower? What does that mean?
Sure. Yeah, the nice thing about the auto flower, it's a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about changing your light cycle. So you can just kind of go about, your normal grow and not really think about that. So it takes a step out of the equation, especially for new growers. Also, as we're going into the summer, a lot of good reasons, get something planted early here, hopefully.
Yeah.
We have some good weather coming up. And another, real positive outcome is that if you do something early in an auto, you kind of avoid that cross-pollination, right? Like
Absolutely.
All that ditchweed that's around there in October, you're going to be done like curing your plants already. So
yeah. And I feel like before we know it, it's going to be time for those plants to be outdoors. Where like, if you haven't started your seeds yet, really consider doing that now, because you want to be able to take advantage of that full season, not just get your seeds out and get a month or two.
Right. Yeah. And avoid some of those pests and deer and things like that. Rabbits that just like to munch on your plants when they're tiny little things. So
all of that.
A little bit bigger before they go out.
Totally. Well, and like you were talking about earlier with the autoflower, I have a lot of friends that grow in the cities, maybe in their backyard close to others. Those photosensitive plants are great, but sometimes depending upon the lights around you are a bit more finicky. What's nice about those autos is you can just throw them out, know that as long as the sun is doing its thing, the plant's going to be doing its thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, like in my neighborhood, everybody has a light over their garage and that thing's coming on all the time. Every time some, critter comes walking down the driveway or whatever, screwing up your light cycle. So yeah, it's the way to go.
Awesome. Well, so people have probably been listening. They're thinking already, oh, this is the seed I need to try. I've heard of Northern Lights. Now is my opportunity to grow it. Where would you recommend that people go to get those seeds?
Yeah, come check us out, MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com.
Very cool. And people can get these, of course, in the seed pack. But you guys also have a monthly subscription. People can sign up for and get seeds like delivered to their doorstep every month. Is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of a set it and forget it, right? Choose your level and wherever you want to be, and you'll get a new set of genetics every month.
That's awesome. I feel like I have so many like unneeded subscriptions that every month it's like, oh, I got to make sure to cancel that. This, however, is one of those that I feel like very, very important to have.
Yeah, never hit that cancel button.
Never. Well, and I heard even there's a rumor that for people looking to buy a pack of seeds, looking to buy a couple packs of seeds, maybe looking to do a pheno hunt or two, they could get a discount on seeds just by listening to this podcast, right?
Yeah, absolutely. NL10, and that'll get you 10% discount.
Sweet. So we'll go to minnesotacannabisseeds.com. I'll scroll through. I'll fill up my cart. I'll go to checkout, enter NL10, and get that 10% off discount.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Awesome. Well, Northern Lights, I'm excited to see people grow that. If you've got great pictures of your Northern Lights auto grow, send them in. We'd love to put them on the podcast. That's a fun pack of seeds to get growing.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Casey, thank you so much for coming in the studio today. As always, I cannot wait to see what you have in store for us next month.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Tanner.
Yeah, we'll be right back. No, but I think what you were talking about before was so prudent. The divide between how we look at Schedule 1 substances that we classify as like hard drugs in our mind.
Yep.
And then this approach that we've taken now to hemp, which, let's be real, it's all the same plant. We can look at the number of THC, the percentage that it had when it was harvested, whatever be it, but it's cannabis. And it would be sort of absurd for us to say like, well, as long as your hemp or your meth is below this percentage, you're good to sell it in municipal liquor stores or movie stores or whatever.
But the irony is that's called Adderall,
Yeah. Well, so let's transition there.
which is pharmaceutical, right?
Exactly. So as our industry continues to grow and evolve, I think we're going to see more federal regulation that really looks at this and says, how do we treat this as a singular branch or a singular plant, if you will? How have you been sort of tracking that, looking at that, especially on your business side?
Yeah. So, I mean, since we sell insurance all over the country, we try to follow as much of the federal stuff as we possibly can. We just read this. I just read this before I came here, but there was a new bill. Is that correct? Sent to Congress. And it is called the
Prepare
Act. Yes.
The federal push to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and then also they want to regulate everything the same. Now, I do want to bring this back a little bit to Minnesota because this is very interesting. So one of the things that on the insurance side for adult recreational cannabis and insurance, you have to have a license. So the insurance companies can't insure you or won't insure you without a cannabis license. And hemp, we haven't had to have licenses.
Right.
So in insurance, it's two separate lanes. I mean, hemp is its own bucket and adult recreational, it's its own bucket, and they don't really play together. So that's been really difficult because hemp is so new. I have helped and watched hemp insurance paperwork get built and developed.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, somebody's putting gummies into ice cream and they're selling it at an ice cream parlor. How do we deal with this? And I had to call all over the country and go, I got a guy selling ice cream. They're like, no, you don't. But I do.
Minnesota is Willy Wonka in a sense,
Yeah.
It is.
So tying this in, we're going to start issuing hemp licenses.
This year.
So what will happen, or what the hope is that I'll be able to contact these insurance companies and go, hey, we have licenses, we have got some regulations, and we're trying to line this up with adult recreational. It's still going to be looser regulatory processes, but we've got some guardrails.
Yeah.
So the hope is that we will actually not only have pioneered the low dose market, but also be able to pioneer some of these insurance policies as well, and hopefully give the rest of the country some more guidance on how to do this in a way that makes sense, that's cleaner, that's easier, and hopefully push out policy that makes the rest of the country sort of less vulnerable to poor products. I was just in both California and Florida, but I went Florida specifically. I went to a gas station. In the gas station was a 7-gram cartridge, and so big cartridge.
That's a big cartridge.
I gotta get my.
That's the doink size of a cartridge.
At least like 2 or 3 days. No.
And it was $95.
Right. Oh man. So here, I got to tell you guys what was in this because it was amazing. All right. So I'm literally in the gas station. All right. So this is called Lost THC3. These products are also being sold in Florida. They call them loophole stores. So these are their hemp stores.
Cool.
All right. But this is a gas station. All right. So in here is live resin, THCA liquid diamond, the best, THCP, Delta 8,
also the best.
also the best.
Actually, now you've just got a podium of all first place products.
And the last one is 11-hydroxy THC.
THC. Yeah, it's been a few years since I've heard that.
So what I've read, and I was like, well, what's 11-hydroxy THC? I guess it is what happens when you ingest THC.
Yeah.
It's already been converted.
Yep,
It
absolutely.
turns into when you consume THC, it turns into 11-hydroxy THC.
Joe Rogan's mentioned that on his podcast like dozens of times. He's literally explained that to people. That's the edibles version of THC. How would you list that?
Gross. That's how I mean, like, that's...
You have no interest in ever marketing a product like that.
You put Super Boof on the side. Tanner might
I
go for
throw
it.
his Z on it.
5% terpenes. Yeah, no, I think... so.
How do I become a distributor?
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of words on there that are like the trigger marketing words. Liquid diamonds, people are big into that. The live resin, all about that. But then what's very interesting is I feel like the consumer for those, very different than the THCP 11-hydroxy... whatever carts.
It's 7 grams though, so you got to fill it with all sorts of variety.
Oh, I met a guy one time, really, really nice guy, not at all meant to talk negatively about people, especially on a public podcast, but came over and was really excited to share with me a vape pen that he made. And it was a mixture of like 6 different cannabinoids together in a goop. And I just, I'm not really interested in being a lab rat for someone else's potions that they make in their bathtub.
Right.
Like, that's just not the cannabis industry that I foresaw. I remember us way back in the day being like, Delta 8, that's not who we are as an industry. Like, maybe we got to fight against that. And clearly that didn't win. But I think we are getting closer to the alt cannabinoids, and minor cannabinoids are minor for a reason. THCP is not good for you to just inhale large chunks of it. It is thoroughly unenjoyable.
Yeah. So
have you heard of crazy stories of bad reactions to alternative cannabinoids?
no, the answer is yes and no. I mean,
Yes and no.
Stories. Nothing. No insurable risks. Nothing like that. And insurance will, basically just say no. We're not interested in looking at that stuff. I mean, Delta 8, Delta 10, those sort of things. Some of them are insurable, but very, very few companies are interested
in actually insuring the product. So the product is not
products themselves.
Wow.
And usually what they'll do is they'll insure, like, let's not to pick on tobacco stores, but let's say you're insuring a tobacco store and they're selling these products. They'll just completely eliminate products liability altogether. So you have, and that's tobacco and vaping and that sort of stuff as well. But then we also get into things like kratom.
I'd put kratom right there. It's found in similar areas.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, once you get into the more, call it esoteric or, kind of outside the norm, they just start to.
Yeah, how do you make an
exclude those.
actuarial table for like a research chemical some guy found online?
Right.
It comes from China, but trust me, it's really good.
It's really good. It's clean.
Yeah, we're going to sell it out of our retail store to people paying us money with credit cards.
Yeah,
Is that
we
cool?
totally tested this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
In fact.
interesting. How does your business correspond with payment processing companies, or how are you in your how do you see that in your day to day? Because Tanner brings up a good point. I mean, you can sell hemp drugs on the internet. You can't sell marijuana drugs on the internet, right? So, like point of sale and the way that the cannabis industry gets picked on, like what are some of the best practices or things you'd recommend around payment processing within the cannabis industry?
Yeah, I don't personally know a lot about payment processing. I know that there are payment processors out there that can do it, but it does actually go into insurance.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. A little story that happened to me recently. I selling insurance policies, and I got a call from one of my brokers, and they said, "We can't offer you financing anymore. Our financing company was purchased by a large national or global financing company, and they are no longer offering insurance premium financing to our clients.
Sure.
Yeah.
You need to go find somebody else." And I'm like, well, I have no idea what you're talking about. Anytime we look at insurance, every single policy usually comes with some sort of payment plan. Auto insurance, home insurance, small business insurance. It's just how it is. And you don't really think anything of it. It's baked in.
Okay.
And that's how all of my policies came to me.
Yeah.
It came with a payment plan that I then presented to the client. I didn't know that it could be removed.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my main carrier says, we can no longer offer this. You need to figure it out. So I had to go out and literally figure out how to do cannabis premium financing. Found a wonderful company that we use today. They're called Sturgeon Finance. Doesn't matter to anybody here, but we do have
they're on LinkedIn.
They're on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yes, they are.
So are we. Check us out.
So it's been great to have that relationship. But it did take me, I had, I think, 5 clients in my pipeline at the time where I had to find financing for them, and I had to scramble. I mean, it was, I didn't.
Because they're banking on paying you monthly.
Correct.
For example.
Absolutely.
And if you say, hey, you can't pay me monthly anymore,
you got to pay in full,
you may lose the deal.
100%. I mean, that's most businesses. Most businesses have a hard time, coming up with anywhere from $3,000 to $30,000 on any given day. So I had to scramble, find financing, was able to do it.
But you've turned that now into a product you can offer.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome. I mean, that's part of the cannabis industry. If you can master something, you can find a way to make it work for you.
Yep.
That's great.
It's been great.
So speaking of ways to sell marijuana online and just call it hemp, if you were to go over to Wisconsin right now, what would insurance look like for some of the breweries or tobacco shops that are selling not just edibles, but smokables, flower, like all of it?
Yeah.
Is that even coverable?
It is. Yeah. So when we get into the adult recreational world, it's much easier than the hemp world. Again, I said that earlier. Because we have 15 years. I mean, we've got time. So all of it is coverable. There is products liability, but we also have very, very strict testing guidelines. We have all of the things in place to try to make the products as safe as possible. And we can trace it back. So if there is a issue with the product, we can go, okay, here's the issue. This is where the lawsuit has to go. This is how we can handle this. So it's very, it's much cleaner in adult recreational. It's more work and there's a lot to it, but it's a lot easier to insure than something like hemp.
So are you saying that the Wisconsin market gets insured through a marijuana lens, given the products that they sell, despite them being THCA or hemp?
Oh, no.
No. So in Wisconsin, would they be hemp? You'd be getting
hemp. It would be hemp.
It's so
Okay. So it comes back to now it's a little bit more complicated.
It's very complicated. Yeah, I apologize. I thought Wisconsin was legal. It's Michigan.
Michigan is cool. Wisconsin is,
Yeah, okay.
and they're around.
So the
Right in
answer is-
between.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happens is like Minnesota, for example, because we have gummies and beverages. I have 6 different companies that I can go to for that. As soon as we talk about flower, vape cartridges, almost any other inhalable product,
Yeah.
the insurance companies' markets shrink to basically 2. And that's it. So, I mean, it's like if you want this cover, and the price goes up.
And it's on a category basis, right? So you're
Correct.
saying like combustible or pre-roll. Let's just say pre-rolls because they sell pre-rolls in Wisconsin. Okay.
Yep.
So that's marijuana then. Even though it's from
Yeah.
an insurance, I mean, I'm
From
calling
an-
it marijuana. I know that's not what it's called.
Yeah. From
But-
an insurance standpoint, they're going to say, do they have a license?
No.
No. So they don't have a license. So, I mean, now we're into the hemp bucket.
Yeah.
In the hemp bucket, you've got beverages and gummies and those sort of things, which are fine. But as soon as we get into the next layer of combustibles or those sort of things, then the market shrinks even more. And they're like, yeah, we'll do it, but it's going to cost X amount. And
if you're a brewery that's doing both, could you have some insurance covered through beverages and edibles and then some insurance covered through, or maybe can you opt to not have insurance?
yeah, so that's called self-insuring. You can always self-insure if you want.
Right.
There's a process for that, and you've got to prove that you can cover losses.
Oh,
But you can self-insure.
sure.
The easiest way to consider self-insurance is your deductible. So auto deductible, $250, $500, $1,000. You can have a $10,000 auto deductible, and you would be self-insuring for $10,000.
Yeah.
So that's the simple way to look at it. For larger operations, you can absolutely self-insure if you can prove that you can cover the losses. That's fine.
But for a lot of these startup hemp businesses that are, I'm really excited to launch my brand. I got 500 bags of gummies and a dream. They don't have capital to self-insure.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them do. At the end of the day, you're taking a risk, but I mean, you do what you can with what you have.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I get that. So we don't have licenses officially yet, but there are many license categories, license types that folks have applied for. You've probably worked with a variety of different applicants and different license types. Talk about the different conversations that you've had based around certain license types, and maybe if you could juxtapose, is there a variety within, say, a meso versus a micro as a juxtaposition?
As far as the insurance goes?
Yeah.
Not really.
Not yet.
No. I mean, it's all pretty standard stuff. How I explain the categories to people is I use oranges as the example. You're going to have the orange. You're going to have the guy who sells the orange tree to the farmer, or the seed reseller in this case. Then you've got the farmer, and then you've got the processor, and then you've got the processor into manufacturing, and then you've got your brands. And that could be orange juice. It could be oranges. It could be all of those.
70% pulp.
70% pulp,
Super
no
boof.
pulp, super boof.
It's all oranges.
The best.
Yeah.
2024 at least.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then all we do is add the word cannabis, and then we charge more.
Nice.
Unfortunately, for a little while longer.
But you think 3 to 5 years we'll start to see prices go down and more reasonable rates?
Oh, they have.
And they've already
They
started.
already have started. Absolutely. Both on adult recreational, medical, and hemp have gone down considerably. The first product recall hemp policy I tried to write was $20,000. It's now $3,000.
Oh, nice.
Great example of, what it turned into. But I could also say that, especially in the initial years of Minnesota, we had a lot of cans blowing up.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That's never happened in my living room.
Right. So I mean, they're initially again, and that's the great example of just not having enough information, or not, or being scared to actually, what is going to happen. I think you'll appreciate the analogy. It's sort of like launching a band, let's say I'm going to invest $1 million into launching a band.
Yeah.
What sort of information do you want other than you like the music? You want to know, do they have a social media following? How many albums they have? Is there any interior riffs going on? But you try to collect this pool of data so you can then go make a reasonable decision on investing in something. And insurance sort of functions that same way, but we use data.
Huh. Yeah. There's a lot of bands trying to get started right now.
Yeah,
Always.
And a lot of really bad music, but also some good music. Yeah. Come like us.
Cory, you've got the platform today. What else should people know about Minnesota cannabis or cannabis insurance right now?
Right now. So the hottest topic, and I was just at Mystic Lake Casino doing a cannabis panel with a bunch of very, very smart people from all over the country, including a couple Minnesota guys.
Shout them out.
Yeah, Jason Tarasek.
Sure.
Will.
Will
was on
Blavet.
was on the panel. It was amazing. But the biggest topic we have is on-premise consumption.
On-premise, meaning you're sitting at the bar, you're in the restaurant, you're maybe at the game, you're at a facility of some kind.
Yep. Yeah. And bars, breweries specifically, or restaurants and breweries specifically. Crossfading, having both alcohol and THC beverage. What does that look like? And this was a bunch of insurance people. So it was, but everybody across the country is looking at Minnesota and how we've been able to do this. I called an insurance company last week. I was talking to them about the possibility of them having a new product. I heard through the grapevine that there was a new product for on-premise consumption. I talked to a guy there, and he goes, "Wow, that's a thing?" And I went, yeah, we do this. And there are two different buckets. There's the on-premise hemp consumption, but then there are consumption lounges. So most people, if they're in the adult recreational space, consider a consumption lounge, which is you're using adult recreational on premises. For us, it's different.
Yes. And has been since Jason Dayton threw that bar at November of 22.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So that's been kind of the hottest topic, I guess, in the insurance space, and it's something that Minnesota has obviously pioneered.
It shows the nascency of hemp beverage still yet.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, people still come to the state and go, "I can't believe I was just in a restaurant. I could just order a hemp beverage."
I'm sure you hear it all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because the level of excitement and enthusiasm, especially people coming from California and Colorado, people that have been in legal states for a long time, and just them not having the ability to just go out and have a nice dinner and a libation.
I think it's the most dangerous thing about cannabis is mixing it with alcohol.
Okay, to talk about that a little bit, and when I talk to new insurance agents, especially out of state, that comes up immediately. And what we learned from Minnesota is that most people don't crossfade.
It's not enjoyable.
It's not only not enjoyable, but I think, myself included, the idea of consuming something that I don't know how it's going to make me feel in an environment that I don't really...
You're in public. It's not enjoyable in public.
Right. All of a sudden you're like, okay, how is this going to affect me? Am I going to be able to drive? Am I going to be too high? But so my first thoughts when we started doing this was, well, one, we didn't have nano-emulsification. So all the onset was taking a half hour to 45 minutes.
Oh, sure.
So I'm like, okay, I'm with my buddies. We're at a bar. everybody has a few beers. I get some liquid courage. And I'm like, I used to smoke when I was in college. Give me one of those. And you have it, and 15, 20 minutes goes by, and you're like, I don't feel anything.
Yes. Yes.
Hop in the car, start driving, and boom.
It is why our unofficial slogan in Minnesota is start low, go slow.
Absolutely.
20 is plenty.
20 miles an hour.
20 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of how
yeah.
I think about hemp and marijuana is like it's just a slower speed.
So I was panicked. I was calling attorneys. I was calling insurance companies. I was calling other insurance agents. I'm like, what happens? What do we do when this happens? It's something catastrophic is going to happen. What we learned is that most people don't crossfade.
Yeah.
The people that were cannabis interested would buy a 4-pack and go home. The other thing that the attorney said to me were, Cory, people have been smoking weed and drinking beer for a long time. It's going to be okay. Like, made me feel really good. And it's totally true. If you are somebody who has been doing it for you've been doing it you totally get it.
Yeah.
And the likelihood of you even having a few beers and then a cannabis beverage is probably pretty low anyways, because you probably have some real cannabis in your pocket.
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to have your couple of beers, you're going to go outside, you're going to smoke, and you're going to go about your day.
It's habitual. You've done it before.
Absolutely. So very, very few, if any, and we haven't seen anything. We've literally seen nothing, which, knock on wood, is amazing.
Yeah.
And it is, I believe, setting the standard for the rest of the country.
Well, before we go today, I do have one final question for you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of consultants across Minnesota are getting asked some really challenging questions about starting up a cannabis business. If you had an unlimited budget, what would your grow look like? Whatever be it. My question for you is, you have an unlimited budget. What guitar would you go and purchase or build or have custom built? What would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Jeez. That's
And if
hard.
you say Paul Reed Smith, I'm angry.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. I mean, there are so many incredible guitar builders out there. So, and I guess for everybody that doesn't know, I did 22 years in the music industry, specifically in the high-end guitar custom industry.
Yeah, check out episode 3. We talked about it a bit more. But yeah.
Sold guitars all over the world. It was, and cannabis is, this for me, another big part of going into cannabis is this is very much like that industry. It's the people are the same. The feeling and the vibe is the same. Everybody's sort of friendly competitors, but we're all aiming towards the same thing, which is unreal.
It's rock and roll.
It's rock and roll.
It's rock and roll.
Cannabis is rock and roll. It's a little rebellious. It's a lot of fun. It hits every age demographic. Amazing. So, man, what would I have? Unlimited. Okay, if I had an unlimited budget, you'd do a 58 or 59 Les Paul.
Okay, all right.
You kind of have to.
Fair.
Because that's the money. And, what do you got? 56 of those in the world or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just not a lot of them.
You're doing the not gold, but like that
Sunburst.
yellowish sunburst.
Yeah.
Yep, you do a burst Les Paul.
Yeah.
59. That's the one.
Cool.
I'm a drummer, and I know how much that means. So yeah, that's something else.
But I can tell you that I've only owned one Les Paul, but all of my other guitars are small custom builders that either worked for the Les Paul custom shop or the Fender custom shop, and then went off to build their own
Very cool.
their own businesses.
I dig that. The micro businesses of the guitar world.
100%.
Cory Lake, true to craft.
Yeah. Well, so if people have more questions for you about cannabis or about guitars, where would you recommend they reach out to you?
You can email me at clake@lakegroupinsurance.com. You can call me at 612-251-9191. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm active on all of those. And I spend a lot of my time doing education. When you call me, it's not a hard sell. I was a small business owner. Insurance is a small business as well. We think of insurance as big insurance companies. I work with 6 other individuals, and we do everything from home and auto to small business to medium-sized business. There are businesses that are too big. We're not going to be able to do Sun Country Airlines anytime soon. But that all being said, if you have small business questions, I got to live through 2008 and 2013, 2 big economic crashes. Using the guitar analogy, in 2013, I couldn't take a $5,000 guitar and put a free tag on it, because anybody that would have picked that up and brought it home probably would have gotten divorced.
Oh, yeah.
You can't have a new guitar. I mean, it was that. So what we had to do is we had to create these pivots during those times. One of those was to work on selling less expensive items, guitar pedals.
Delta 8 guitars.
Delta 8 guitars, absolutely. There were still some buyers for those, but we had to look globally. But you're constantly going to have to pivot and reinvent and think about your business in different ways. Learn your demographic, and then know that the good times are good and the hard times are hard. It's a ride. And when you hit those hard times, lean on the people that want to help you and lift you up, because there'll be a lot of negative energy, and it's going to be a lot of people having a very hard time. So the last thing I'll say about that particular piece is, one thing I don't want to see Minnesota do is have the prices drop out. Price isn't everything. Price doesn't solve your problems. Having the cheapest or least expensive product on the market does not drive customers to your store. And it is a very, very, it's a thing that you feel like you have to do, but you need to focus on your customers, what they want, offering better services, and then, possibly offering something other than price.
Yes.
Give them, better advice, give them a better experience, give them a reason to come back other than cheap or inexpensive product. Because your product was $20 today, and then if it's $15 tomorrow, product's the same. Still a $20 product.
It's really interesting, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I think the more that you plan, the less price becomes what you focus on. And if you can paint that story for the customer and really show the vision of what the brand is, then they're buying into that.
Right.
And the price is just a tag on the wall.
Yeah. To me, it's not even a story. It's if you have your system of guiding principles that you believe in and have understanding of, the money and the sales is going to be a symptom of doing the correct thing. And so many people, like I've worked in marketing my entire professional career, and I don't know how better than to talk into a microphone in a room right now than to say, like, so many people are so quick to lose sight of what got them started and why they got there, that then because they're so focused on bottom line or focused on business development, or it's just like if you have your system and stick to it, people will understand that.
And the experience.
And and that goes with experience. Yes, of course. And that only comes
through communication
and experience
to
and
the experience.
Relational.
Absolutely. So as much as I say, don't price fix, which we can't talk about that, but we do need to come to an agreement amongst all of our friendly competitors that we're going to try to hold a standard where there is a point where you'll get to where you have to be. So let's call that $100 ounce, not literally, but figuratively. And as soon as you go below that, you're starting to lose money. So we've got to be able to try to hold a standard amongst everybody.
We need like an OPEC, but for cannabis oil.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Down.
Yeah. So
There's a lot of factors at play, though. I mean, you bring it up at the end, but my mind is just racing now.
well, we can do it again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah. It's going to happen. And we already have had you back once. So now it's easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys. This is I honestly I've been waiting a long time for this, and I feel like we've scratched the surface.
Truly.
And I mean, I have so much of my retail life that I'd love to share with everybody. Something I do like to talk about, and again, feel free to reach out for any reason. It's been a journey, and what I like to do is share stories of very expensive mistakes that I've made over years, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spent the money and the time. So, so if you want to learn how to not make some very expensive mistakes, please give me a call.
Call Cory Lake.
It's the best sell there is. Well, Cory, thanks so much again. We really appreciate
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
it.